We just wanted to, at first, tell you a little bit about who we are, RPM Living. I don't know how many of you are familiar. We are a little bit newer on this side of the world, but we have been around for a good amount of time, for 22 years, to be exact. But just to start, I'm going to let you know who we are, give you a little bit of overview of what brought us to knowledge management, and then I'm going to pass it off to Meg so she can start to show you everything that we have been working on, everything that we're doing. Full transparency, our enterprise-wide launch is next week. So we've got a lot. We've been in the thick of it, but we're excited to share it with you. So who I am, I've been in the multifamily industry for, math. I've been in the industry since 2012. I am actually new to knowledge management, but I have boatloads of experience on the multifamily side. I've held about just every position there was and then moved over to the corporate side on the strategy team. So I'm super excited to be here and learning about knowledge management. I have done a crash course since it has come under my purview. And then I'll let Meg introduce herself.
I'm Meg. I have been in knowledge management for a little over 20 years. I come from a totally different background than property management, so this is completely new to me and been really fun and exciting. I've always been on the managed services side, so a lot of that transitioning and then a little bit of steady state and then moving on to the next customer. So it's been a really fun thing for me to stay and represent and actually bring this into an organization that doesn't have the service. So we're, as Lindsay mentioned, we go live on Monday with our enterprise. So you're really lucky that I'm here. That's what I'm trying to say. No, it's tough. We got a lot going on right now, and I have one knowledge manager on my team. So we're really excited, and we've done a lot of work to get here, and eGain has been really instrumental in helping with that.
So a little bit about who we are. We're a highly innovative, full-service, multifamily property management, investment, and development company. We've been around for, again, 22 years. This is everywhere that we currently operate in. We have a handful of corporate offices across the U.S. We are number 3 on NMHC's 50 largest apartment managers. We manage over 225,000 total units. That's how we count them instead of properties. But we're in across 45 markets in the U.S. So one thing I've kind of seen a lot since I've been here ties into our core values, mainly stay curious and relentlessly seek solutions. So this is who we are as a company. We drill this into our associates every day to be proud of who they work for. So we just want to be a place where extraordinary people thrive, and we're excited to continue to work to get there and to maintain that through knowledge management and providing our employees the resources they need to be successful. So, not to drill it into you, but we not only want to make sure that we're constantly driving NOI for our clients, we also want maximized returns on our investments, and then we also work on, so these are existing properties, apartment homes, and then we also do lease-ups, transitions, so we have boatloads of different departments and fields and expertise that we have to essentially put all of that information all in one. And who are our customers? We have our associates, of course. We have our residents, and we have the clients that hire us to manage their assets. So our core values are reflected in our commitment to DEIB programs. We also want to constantly ensure that all associates feel respected and empowered. We prioritize all of our community engagement through different volunteer activities. So again, just really focusing on the associate and overall experience. And so we just want to create a culture that supports personal growth, community service, and a sense of belonging. And I say all that just to really speak to how we're looking to move forward because we've had such explosive growth. Anyway, not to read through everything, but that's who we're serving right now. And we needed to find a better way to get to all these different people in different ways. So just an overview of what we were dealing with. I don't know, does anyone know what an LXP is? Hands? No? It's a learning experience platform. It's this is what we currently had in place at our company. So we did not have a knowledge management system at all. We had an LXP, which was like a pseudo LMS. It was also used for social, and it was pretending to be a knowledge management system, but it wasn't. So it was trying to be all these things, and it was not really good at any of them. So we had a lack of standardization. We had duplicated content, outdated content. It was like the wild, wild west. People could upload anything. So it was just, we were in the danger zone. And, people couldn't access what they needed, and so they were heavily relying on people like me who had been around for a while and had held various positions. I have a lot of tribal knowledge. So that's not how you want to operate, especially when you have, on our side, we have about 200 support agents internally assisting our associates. Given the fact that our associate base is 85% on-site. And when I say on-site, they are the teams managing the assets or the properties that residents live at. And so they're our bread and butter. That's why we're here. And so when we can't give them the information they need, we're not going to be that successful, right? We also have grown exponentially. Again, since 2002, we started at 10 properties, and now we have, a huge presence. With that comes M&A. We've had months where we've brought on 800 associates at one time when we acquire the management of larger companies and properties where they give us 80 properties at once. We acquire those site teams. It's also naturally a very high turnover industry, especially on site, because it's hard. We're dealing with people and their homes. There's a lot that we ask of them. We ask them to wear many hats, such as not only customer service, event planning, accounting, budgeting, marketing. They have to have, a really wide range of skills in order to succeed at their job. And it's a lot, especially when you're bringing that many people on at one time. And then just the sheer training that's involved in that, and then having to do it consistently. And again, in our industry, there's, when I say high turnover, a lot of times you'll just bring in the site teams when we get handed a property that are existing, and then we find out, maybe we shouldn't have done that. And we need to find somebody else to better suit the needs of the property and the client. Because usually when they bring us on, they're wanting to make a change because they're not happy with how their asset is being managed. So we had can't talk. Y'all, it is almost happy hour time. But we have data silos. We had limited resources. We also have a really big tech stack that we're asking our associates to access multiple different systems every single day when it comes to lead management, which is all of the leasing leads that come in when people are trying to lease apartments. We have Zendesk, we have Salesforce, we have SharePoint, we have what we call a PMS or a property management system that houses all of the data for the residents. So we're asking, and there's many, many more, that's just a very short list, we're asking our associates to get into all of these systems constantly, and it's a lot. And we're always wanting to stay innovative and, you know, staying on top of what's next in the industry, and that's really hard to do when we're asking people to touch all these different systems and find the information for all of these different sources, and we don't have like a standardized place to put it. So anyway, big problem, and that's why we hired Meg and decided to bring in knowledge management into RPM, which, as far as we know, we're probably one of the first to do it in the industry that we're in, and we're super excited to kind of be on the forefront of that. And so, as you guys know, cost of customer support is really expensive. You know, just if with Gartner, they actually upped it from, I think it was 2019, that I want to say it was like $8 to $9, and now it's $13.50 per customer contact, while those self-service channels cost about $1.84. So I have something up here that you're going to be like, what the heck is that? FRC and community care. That is part of we have a centralized service team at the company that's working to taking a lot of those heavier lift and admin tasks off of our site teams. So they have more time to spend with residents, making sure their apartment homes are taken care of, that they're taken care of, that their overall experience is better and they're not so tied to a desk and to a computer, because it's all about interacting. You know, that's something that in our industry, AI will never replace, because we're dealing with people in their homes. But even with just this small subset, because we just started those efforts last year, we've had almost 50,000 contacts. And if you look at that, you know, if you look at those numbers, that's about $650,000. And if we increased our self-service portal to just 15%, we could be saving close to $100,000 a year. And so I've talked a lot about the internal side of not having it, but we do also have this small little bit of external customers that we are also trying to service, and the opportunities are endless on how we can expand that. But we have to pump the brakes a little bit and see if we can get it, you know, finessed to where we can continue to add additional properties on this service. And so here is where I'm going to hand it off to Meg so she can talk to you a little bit about how we started implementing the knowledge system. We started our RFP process in August of 2023. So it has been a long road, but ultimately we obviously choose eGain. And we've been very excited to get everything rolled out with them. We've challenged them a little bit with a lot of our big ideas on how we want to utilize the system. So I'm going to let Meg speak to that.
Thank you. So, I mean, as you can see, this is what our overall goals are. We've really just coming from no knowledge management to knowledge management in itself is going to be a huge improvement. We've already implemented it with a small pilot group and seen some pretty impressive results that we'll show in just a little bit. But, you know, our goals, of course, are to get rid of all of that duplicate content, have some, you know, efficiency and streamlined processes. Governance is a huge part of it. I call our existing LXP that, like, as she mentioned, the Wild Wild West, but it's really like our single source of chaos. Nothing in there is as it should be. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about this in a second, but we came from, when I started, there were 17,000 pieces of content in the tool. And for an organization that's, you know, only 5,000 employees or so only, but when we got down to it, and we've narrowed everything down now. We are looking at like maybe 1,500, 1,700 pieces of content. And I'd venture to say that besides the social part of it, probably a third of that was duplicates upon duplicates upon duplicates, because anyone could get in there and update and publish content. And so it's exciting for us, but at the same time, it's a big cultural shift for us. So that's what we're looking to to implement and get people to find they have that place they can trust, that single source of truth. And so, as we've mentioned, a couple people have already mentioned before, having that real-time updates, the governance, getting our different departments and whatnot involved is going to really make this a huge improvement for us. So, as Lindsay mentioned, this is how our different associates and agents and residents are accessing our system. Right now, we have, like she said, just a small subset of individual or communities that are accessing our self-service portal. And what's kind of cool out there is we do have virtual assistants set up as well. And I can chat about that in a second. But so, it's really important for us to maintain that high level of customer service for our, for our residents, associates, and for our agents. I've really kind of talked about this part already, so I don't want to repeat myself too much. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay, here we go. So again, this is how we're accessing everything. Right now, we're about to roll out this really large enterprise-wide knowledge management system. And so getting all of our users in there with personalization is exciting. We've got some different groups that access content on a much more personalized, private means. We had a lot of resistance from these individuals. It's our private accounting group. There's content in there that we cannot share with our entire organization for obvious reasons. And having to get buy-off from them has been it's a big challenge. And we're still not there. We're working really hard on it. But I think they're going to be really excited when they go out there and they see that they've got their own little portion of the knowledge management tool that just they can access. They have rights to go in, update the content. We've provided that training so individuals can start kind of from our department content owners can start right from the launch, maintaining their content. We didn't give them full-on permissions to do that. We've already set our workflows up, but they'll be able to get in there, access those things, and make those updates as the suggestions and feedback comes in. Of course, the knowledge management team is vetting everything. We don't want to just, have our agents or associates start adding updates and suggestions to content and them having to field all of that. So it's really great to have a tool that allows us to set up those workflows so we can maintain those ourselves and then get them over to them when appropriate. And then also have those dashboards and reporting that reflects, where they're succeeding and where they need to improve, or which authors are making the most updates and who has the most outstanding, tasks assigned to them and that kind of thing. So, I'm really excited about it, but I'm also, just to be super honest, I'm a little terrified because it is such a huge cultural shift for my organization. But we've got, you've all mentioned the leadership buy-in and championing, and we've got that. But it's something that I'm really going to take back with me this week because I really want to get more of that as we launch into this rollout next week. And I'm going to share a little bit about some of the other things that we're doing to market that and to champion it, because they're kind of some fun things. But first, how do we choose eGain? For us, the semantic search, all of the search features are great. The chatbot, the data dip, where we've got users. So this one is kind of cool for us, and it was actually a really big selling point for us. The way we are looking at that is we have our virtual assistant on our customer-facing side. And most of our customers are out there looking for account information, like, it's money-based, like when am I gonna get my refund? Why do I owe this? And what's really cool is the data dip kind of helps us track the chat that they're having with the virtual assistant. Not have to, we've got our API that we've built out, and this is a future state, but it's coming up really soon, where we're pulling content, we're pulling data from our data warehouse that's customer account information specific, where we can respond to them with those, curated and individual account responses or account details that, don't pertain to like a larger, more generic response. So this is something that was like really exciting for us, because also at the same time, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but you could take a lot of those chat conversations and then, turn them, like have that integration with your ticketing application, and all of that historical data is there. You've already got the customer's information. You don't have to go back and ask them, start asking them questions, start the conversation over. The agent can then, pick up in the middle of the conversation or the search that they've already been doing on the tool itself, and pick up and provide that support there. So that's a really cool thing that we're looking forward to. And of course, the rest, the personalization and the content workflow I talked about, all of the analytics are super exciting for us. We didn't have anything in the existing tool. And the personalization feature. So yeah, those are some of the things that are exciting for us. So what does it look like for us right now? We've got all of these different things in place. We've just recently turned on, or just gotten instant answers, like a little more honed and starting to use that. We have, I would say, we've seen good results on it so far, but I know with this larger rollout, it's going to prove to be a really exciting feature for our associates. I will admit to being, leery of it at first, because I was afraid that we would be serving up incorrect answers. I know someone talked about that this morning, and benefits, you're back there, and, the 45-day and the 15-day thing, you can't miss things like that. So there has to be a lot of collaboration. And so for me, I actually really appreciate that. It's not just something that we're going to fully trust. We want to keep a close eye on it, and especially on those more critical processes where maybe you have instant answers turned on. Those are the ones that you really need to be more mindful of, and just keeping things monitored well. And then I will say what's been really great for AssistGPT, because of this rollout we have coming up next week, the authoring side has been, I can't even tell you how incredible it's been for us, just to not have to worry about creating those descriptions, those keywords, being able to build in and using the other side of that, the dictionary. We can put our own terms in there, using the prompts that we've also created, and in addition to the ones that come out of the box. All of that has made the authoring experience actually kind of fun. It's pretty cool to be able to use that and just see how it works, and also like a huge stress relief. So yeah, that's a little bit about how we're using the tool right now. So this is our roadmap right here. We launched with that pilot group, the Central Services group that Lindsay touched on, in the summer. We've also had another small pilot launch, but it was really more of like a testing environment, so we could get that pilot group that's not the agent group to be our champions when we do roll out. We've had really good feedback. I'll show the results of some surveys we put out with them. And our big launch is a week from yesterday. And our virtual assistant 2.0. So we have, right now out on the self-service model, or on the web self-service, we have a very generic virtual assistant we've turned on, and the scenarios are limited to the responses. And that's because it's not, we're not doing that OTP verification to pull down their specific content related to their accounts. At this point, it's just generic responses, like where do I go to get my key? Like if they can't find the answer in the knowledge base itself, it should be there, but some people are just drawn to a VA, and it's been a good kind of testing environment for us to see how people are using it, and then how we can, of course, improve upon that for our next launch of that, our next iteration, if you will. So continuous improvement, optimizing and enhancing. You know, we want to integrate, or we're integrating with SharePoint, but with us, it was really important to not just integrate with SharePoint and having a federated search that brings up, you know, responses to those parts of SharePoint that everyone has access to. You want to be able to get the response of the answers to the SharePoint sites that you, as an individual, have access to. So eGain is working with us on that. And that's going to be, I think, a really great feature because we do have a lot of content that we still maintain out in SharePoint that's you know, reporting, collaborative stuff. We've got different, I don't know, Lindsay probably knows better what else we have out there, but it'll be important for us to have that level of access versus just anyone being able to access that top-level SharePoint homepage.
And just to elaborate on that a little bit more for SharePoint, it's not, our entire organization doesn't have access to SharePoint. It's limited by roles. And then the importance of having it federated and set up in a way that it will only get them information from what they have access to in the folders is to prevent things that shouldn't be touched being touched, because in our enterprise, we keep a lot of legal documentations, shared workbooks. We do, when we have a new property transitioning in, we have insanely large workbooks that we use to set up different systems and housing a lot of information. So we want to keep that protected a little bit. So we want to make sure that that's not touched by just anyone. So that was very important to us. And again, when I mentioned that we've kind of shot a few customization challenges over to eGain, they have met it with enthusiasm. So that has been great, and they're really working on us to get it customized to how we wanted to implement things across the board, across the VA, with the, as she said, the one-time password for the portal, so we can validate and verify who that resident is to bring in their information into Zendesk, and just expanding on what our overall vision was, which we may not be like the cookie cutter example of how a lot of people use a knowledge management system as it relates to support and internal, but we're really excited of where we can go.
So I just want to go back really quick to the enterprise launch. I know I mentioned briefly that we're doing some really exciting things, and I wanted to share with you all. So we're kind of butting up, you know, things have gone back and forth about when we were going to roll out, and that's really, a lot of it's been on us. We've had to push it back a little bit, and now we're ready to go, and it's just in time for enrollment. And so we kind of lost our like big announcement, this is when it's happening. So while we're launching on the day enrollment starts on November 4th, the same week as a, you know, huge election and some other campaigns that are going on internally, we've had to pivot and get really creative with our ideas of how we can get engagement. And so we're going to, you know, we won't have access to content on our LXP anymore, but there will be really easy ways, simple ways for people to access the content in the knowledge management system. But one thing that we're doing, starting in the beginning of December, is we're going to launch a 12 days of knowledge management campaign. And that's like, for us, it's a gamification, some scavenger hunts that we've built out with our marketing team, you know, throughout the tool, with award, you know, 8 hours PTO for the, you know, person that gets selected from, in each day of the 12 days, we'll have different things that they can do. We've got a really cool commercial coming out that our marketing team is doing a little bit later on in November. And then we also have our news magazine. So we're trying to come up with like really fun, creative ways to do it, even though we're missing this like launch opportunity. We know it'll be fun. And you know, we'll have a little bit of time to keep perfecting things before we do that big campaign. So just really quick, you know, just in this short amount of time from July to September, you can see we've already had like a pretty substantial reduction in our former resident care ticket count. Some of that is directly, of course, related. It's not all totally directly related or so like a direct correlation of self-service, but a huge part of it is. So we're serving up that self-service, those responses to our customers that they didn't have before, as well as the virtual assistant we have out there. And then our level 1 support handle time has gone down, quite a bit. So we're really excited to see that in just such a quick amount of time. And our successful searches and positive ratings are looking great, for something that's really just relatively brand new for us. And these are the results of the survey I put out to this pilot group. Give me some feedback on how you're feeling about the tool. We want to know, what can we do, or what's the overall response we're getting from our users, because they don't have a lot of confidence in our existing tool. So it's important that we have, we know how the experience is going for everybody. And then, just some testimonials from some of our individuals that have already been using the tool. Right here, Katie is a huge user of the tool. Her team is in there a lot. They have tons of content. So, some of the things that she highlights is how it's better support, easier workflows, and change the game. Christy's been really instrumental in helping me move all of our content out of the LXP and into the knowledge management system. And Brooke is our newest knowledge content owner. And she's hopped right in and really challenged us on a lot of things, questions a lot. She questions things that we hadn't thought of, but she's also found it really easy to use, and she's super excited about it.